Hey everybody, it's Mr. Brown. Welcome to the first day of specials or special lesson in this e-learning format. I hope you all are doing okay. This really is for everybody. This is a little intro video that everybody's going to see, kindergarten through 5th grade. It's something I've seen online and I wanted to share it with you. If you've seen it already, great. You've got a leg up on everybody, just bear with me. And if you haven't seen it already, then it'll show you about the importance of washing your hands with soap. Not just water, but with soap. I know that's an important thing and a message that's being sent around nowadays with everything going on. So this thing is pretty cool. Let me scroll down here to show you what the setup looks like. It's just a bowl with some pepper. Okay. Now you put your finger in that bowl with the pepper, and the pepper represents the germs. So I'm going to stick my finger in there, and you can see that I've got germs all over my finger. Okay. I wipe that pepper off my finger, or the germs off my finger, just to prove a point. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of soap and put it on my finger. Okay. Get it on there. I'm going to rub it in as best I can. Okay. Rub it in, rub it in, rub it in. Now I'm going to stick my finger back into the germs or the pepper. Okay, now let's see what happens. Did you see that? Look at all the germs running away from my finger with soap on it. They move to the opposite side of the bowl. So that just proves that it's important to use both soap and water when you wash your hands. Look what soap can do to your to germs. It gets rid of them. It keeps them off your fingers. Well, I hope you learned a little something there, and if you already seen this, thanks for bearing with me. In just a second, your actual lesson, depending on your grade level, is going to start. And I'll see you then. Bye. Hey 2nd grade, welcome to the first day of virtual STEM. I'm so excited that we're able to still do this even though we're not in school. I'd much rather be, but it is what it is and we gotta do what we gotta do, okay? So listen, I know when we left off, we were talking about temperature. Unfortunately, we can't continue that part of that lesson about measuring the heat escaping through certain materials. But we can do something very similar, if you will, which will end up in a project where you still have to prevent something from melting, okay? So, for today's project, before we get started, I need to tell you something. I know you saw at the beginning of this video, but I need to make sure that you understand. Anything that we do here in Virtual STEM, you need your parents' permission. For any of the materials you're going to use, for any of the experiments as far as the steps go, please make sure your parents know what you're doing, have okayed it, and even better yet, if they could do it alongside of you. They could even do their own experiment as you're doing yours, and that would be awesome. But please, please, please make sure you have your parents' permission, especially today, because we're going to deal with some things, some items you have around the house, but you need to make sure it's okay with your parents, okay? All right, first things first, let me tell you what you need today. You're gonna need, if you have some of these little muffin trays, that would be awesome. You're only gonna need 6, okay? 6 little containers. If you have a big one like this, you can use that as well. We're just not gonna use all of them, okay? If you don't have this, it's okay, all right? Hold on one second and I'll show you what we can use. If you have some containers lying around like this, or little bowls, maybe a little plastic bowl or a little styrofoam bowl, that would be awesome as well, okay? But we're gonna need at least 6 of these, okay? The next thing you're gonna need is some salt, okay? This is a lot of salt. We're not gonna use this much, but I wanted you guys to kind of get a visual of what we're gonna need today. So salt. You're also going to need some baking soda. Now, if you do not have baking soda, it's okay. Don't run out to the store and get some unless your folks want to, but you do not need baking soda. Instead of baking soda, we can use baking powder if you have that lying around, or we can use some sugar, okay? So if you do not have baking soda, don't worry about it. All right, so we need salt and baking soda. Remember, for baking soda, you can substitute sugar or the baking powder. The last thing we need is this, dirt. Dirt or sand, it doesn't matter. And guys, I just got this from the backyard just before I started this video, so easy to come by. Grab as much as you need. We're only going to need a little bit for each of the trays. So dirt or sand. And please, again, make sure your parents say this is okay to put onto their nice pans if you're using these, okay? So dirt or sand, salt, and baking soda. Those are the 3 ingredients we're going to use in our trays here. All right? Now, we're going to determine what one of these 3 items, either the salt, the baking soda, or the dirt or sand, will melt ice quicker. Okay? I know you probably have some ideas right now, but hold on to it until after we do this experiment. All right? So what we're going to do is we're going to put ice in these trays. We're going to put the same amount of ice. I'm going to get 3 cubes. Okay? I'm going to put 3 cubes in here. I'm going to put 3 cubes in here. I'm going to put 3 cubes in there. Then I'm going to put salt in here on top of the ice, baking soda on top of the ice here, and my dirt on top of the ice there. Okay? In these 3 trays right here, I'm just going to put 3 pieces of ice, and I'll explain why in just a second. Okay guys, we're back. So from here on out, we're going to show you, or I'm going to show you this view to kind of guide you along on this project, okay? So I have my tin set up here. Now, all I have to do is put in my ice, okay? Let me go get the ice, and then we'll put the ice in here, and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, I got my ice, and this is what we're going to do. We need to make sure we put the same number of cubes in each of the trays. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 in there. Now, it's important that you kind of try to get the ice right out of the freezer and put it in here. We don't want it to melt too much before we actually start this. Okay, so I got my ice in my tins here. Now, only 3 of these tins are we going to be filling up with stuff, or putting stuff on top of the ice, I should say. 3 of them we're going to leave alone. That's going to be our control, because we're going to see, hey, we know that ice naturally melts when it's not in a cold environment. So we're going to see how that naturally melts. Then we're going to put salt on this, we're going to put baking soda on here, and we're going to put the dirt and sand on this one. So we can figure out, okay, this is how ice normally melts. Did any of these materials make it melt quicker? Okay, they're in the same tin, they came from the same freezer, the same number of cubes are in each one, but we're only going to put stuff on top of these 3 right here. So let me start with the salt. Now, I'm going to get a regular old teaspoon, okay, for this. Now, make sure, again, you have your parents' permission, all right? We want to make sure we put the same amount of salt and same amount of baking soda and same amount of dirt and sand in each one. So I'm going to take mine and go 1, 2. That's my salt. I'm going to take my baking soda and do the same thing. 1, 2. Okay, now, this is where it gets kind of messy because I don't want to necessarily stick a spoon in there. But if your parents don't want you to stick a spoon in there, you can just pour it in there on top, okay? You don't have to have the exact same amount. But I'm going to stick mine in there because I'm going to throw this right in the dishwasher when I'm done. We're going to do 1 and 2. That kind of looks like a cupcake, but I wouldn't want to eat it, okay? All right, so we are now going to wait. If I were you, I would look at the clock. and I would write down a time. So for instance, right now it is 2:40. So I would write down on a piece of paper, I would write down 2:40. I would check it about every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes or so, or if you want to wait a little bit longer, every 20 minutes is fine too. But let this sit out for a while. Obviously, we know this ice isn't going to melt right away, but we want to determine if any of these materials we put on here, either the salt, the baking soda, or the dirt, made this ice melt quicker. Once you start seeing the ice melting more than the others, write down the time that you see it melting the most, all right? Whichever one it should be. Okay? Now, next week, when we get together, we're going to go over our results. I'm going to leave mine out here, okay? Now, if you want to share with me your pictures, I would love to see them, guys. I would absolutely love to see your pictures or your videos of you doing this experiment, writing down your information. There is an upload button on the very bottom of this website. Well, not the complete bottom, but below here, okay? You'll see it says upload. If you click on that, you can submit to me your pictures and your information and your experience through this project, okay? I would love to see them. I would love to put the pictures up on this website here. I'm hoping you guys will like this website. You're gonna have a lesson every single week, a brand new one. We're actually gonna build off of this next week, all right? We're gonna do something else with some ice next week, okay? But I want you to leave this out, and I want you to see if any of these three materials right here, the salt, the baking soda, or the dirt or sand, melts the ice the quickest. Which one melts the ice the quickest? Okay? Remember, these are our controls. These are the ones that we're just going to naturally let melt and see if any one of these looks different than our controls quicker. Okay? So which one of these would melt the ice quicker? All right, so leave this out for a little bit. Write down your observations, say, every 20 minutes or so. And probably a good, maybe an hour if you leave this out would be good enough to see the results. And please take pictures, send them to me through the upload button on the towards the bottom of this website. If you have any questions or have a problem, then on the bottom here where the questions section is on the website, just fill that out. That gets sent right to my email, and I'll be able to answer any of your questions you have. Okay? All right, guys, I look forward to seeing you guys next week. I look forward to seeing some of your pictures on this project. Remember, we don't have to use a tin. If you have any, like 3 containers or 6 containers to put things in, that'll work. And remember, if you don't have baking soda, we can use sugar, okay? Or if you have some baking powder or any other sort of materials you have lying around the kitchen, if you want to test it, not taste it, because I bet you this doesn't taste good. If you want to test it in place of the baking soda, go right ahead. All right? So I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Remember, please make sure you have your parents' permission before you attempt any of these experiments. All right, guys, I'll see you next week. Have fun, and I hope to see you very, very soon.